When physical load changes, there's less heaviness, less pain, and easier movement. It can create a ripple effect because in many chronic illness bodies, energy just isn't about sleep. It's about how much your system is spending on everything you do all day. Pain signals, inflammation signals, sensory overwhelm, not feeling safe, not feeling heard, extra stress, and then just sheer effort of daily tasks. So if walking becomes easier, your body may spend less energy just trying to exist. And sometimes that's when you notice, oh, I have more energy, not because you became a different person, but because your body has a little more room.
Hey, beautiful soul, and welcome to Dear Body, I'm Listening, the podcast for women navigating chronic symptoms, invisible illness, and that daily dance between hope and exhaustion. If you've ever been told it's all in your head, well, this podcast is for you because your body is not lying and neither are you. Hi, I'm Donna Piper, movement therapist, Pilates instructor, and chronic illness navigator. After years of being dismissed, misdiagnosed, and doing everything quote unquote right, but still getting sicker, I created this space to tell our truth. Here we talk about swelling, brain fog, nervous system crashes, and the kind of symptoms that don't always show up on lab results. We're going to explore lymph, breath, movement, self-trust, latest research, books, relationships, basically everything. All from a place of compassion and honesty. This isn't about fixing your body. It's about finally being heard and getting some answers.
Hey friend, running low? Me too. I'm Donna. This is Dear Body, I'm Listening. We're in it together. Hey lovely, welcome back to Dear Body, I'm Listening. My name is Donna, and today's episode is very personal and a little kitchen table energy. No big teaching arc, no perfect storyline, just me. I am almost 6 weeks post-op from my lipedema surgery. My birthday was yesterday, and I'm just reporting live from the glamorous world of 23/7 compression garments and, just life in general, figuring out what post-surgery is supposed to feel like and what to do. And by the time you're hearing this, I'll probably be 6 weeks out, which feels like both a blink and an entire documentary series. Like Dateline, but the villain is swelling, and the twist ending is, well, patience. So today we're going to do some misses, some hits, and what's changing, what's still tender, and what I'm honestly excited about next. And at the end, I'm going to guide you through a gentle mirror practice because sometimes the hardest part of healing is letting your nervous system believe the change is allowed. Got to make space for things to change, even if we want the thing. Sometimes if our capacity is not there, or we haven't done some, work to get us in that state. Sometimes our conscious or subconscious actually can fight us on some things. So let's get into it.
Real talk, no gloss, just us. Now let's dive in.
So first, let's talk about some misses. What I'll do better next time. So the first surgery, there was a lot of learning curves. I went early, a week early before my surgery, to go to all the different towns because I've never been to Germany. I'm not familiar, even though I studied the language for the last, 6 months, since probably August, 5 months. I still didn't really know what I was in for. And I didn't really know geographically where things were, etc. So it's going to be useful, I hope. It's not going to be inspiring, but this is what I wish I would have done. So I really wish I would have wrote out in German specific questions for my team. I had a lot of contact with them before, and Dr. Goetz and his team is wonderful. But because I have chronic illness and I have all my other ME/chronic fatigue syndrome, hypermobility, and then POTS, MCAS, I get migraines, I have upper cervical spine instability, et cetera, et cetera. I live with a lot of pain, and I didn't really get down and dirty in the nitty-gritty of what that meant. So I never really take pain medicine, and I just thought what they were going to give me was sufficient. And I just didn't really know. I didn't ask the right questions. And because I'm so unfamiliar with it, I didn't know what to ask, right? So Now I do. So part of what I'm going to ask next time is what's the difference between like kind of the beefed up Tylenol that I get daily and the pain medicine. And I did learn that there is a difference, and you ask for the pain medicine, and the pain medicine does help, especially before MLD when I'm in the hospital. So this is something I'm not just charged with in Germany. I think it's lower than our narcotic level because it's a very low dose of what they use for pain management, but you have to ask for it. So if you're like me and you don't know anything about pain management and you don't take a lot of medications, and I didn't know I didn't have to kind of suffer through it, and it did help. So pain management is totally up to you, but taking and asking for painkillers in addition to what they were giving me for just like the daily kind of inflammation and kind of an upgraded, I don't know if it's actually Tylenol. I don't know what it is. And that's else. I should really write in German asking what these medications are so I know. I kind of trust that they give me what they're supposed to give me. But when it came to kind of having more pain, I didn't realize that, I could take something else for it. So that was a learning for me. So that was kind of a big one. The other one is asking that something also in German with the anesthesiologist. My time there in the beginning had a little hiccup in it. I went when they had this major ice and snowstorm. They haven't had any snow like that for 15 years. So even though the smaller hospital is a hospital that they schedule surgery at, because most of the time they don't have any trauma preemptive surgeries happening. So you basically kind of go on your schedule. But knowing that it's a hospital setting and it's small, there might be some traumas or other surgeries that may affect your schedule date is something that I kind of knew, but I didn't know the practicality of. And because they were having so many traumas the night before I arrived, I didn't get to speak with the anesthesiologist until the next day. And I spoke to her colleague. And I don't know how much English he did or didn't know. I tried to tell him my sensitivities. They did know that I had upper cervical spine instability, so really to watch my neck. But I'm very, very sensitive to coming out of anesthesia. And even though I said that, I don't know if I said it in the correct medical way. And I only had one surgery before, and it took them a really long time to wake me up. And then this time with this anesthesia, I did vomit like 5 times, which I think is normal. But now I'm going to write something in German to really tell them how to figure out the right medical jargon to communicate with the anesthesiologist. So I'm much more specific about how I'm feeling and what I need, and also do that in German. So that will help. So those are kind of a couple really big things. The other thing is that I had to I didn't really have to panic pack. I had to like panic unpack because I got some alerts I was flying through Amsterdam that, a few days prior to my trip, that's when they had a major ice storm. And then like hundreds of flights were canceled and shut down. And there was hundreds of people or maybe thousands of people at the airport. And it was crazy. So my flights weren't affected, but I did get alert that morning that they had some power outage issues and some of the baggage wasn't getting transferred to their final destinations in time. So because I was going to 3 different places before I went to the hospital, I wasn't sure when I'd have my baggage and what I would need and blah, blah, blah. So I pared down from a suitcase I was going to check to 2 small travel items. So this time I'm not gonna panic pack, and now I really know what I need. Even with the pared down, there's things that I brought that I really didn't use. You're there for me, how I pack. I thought, "Oh, I'm there for a month. Maybe I'll have time to do X, Y, and Z and by myself," but I didn't do any of those things. I was just focused on recovery and sleeping, and so I didn't bring a speaker, and I like listen to music. And I do have Netflix on my phone, but I think I'm gonna And I didn't want to watch it on my computer. I just don't like watching on my computer for some reason. So I'm going to bring an iPad and a speaker next time. I was going to bring some like mandalas to color, stuff like that. And I didn't get to because they weren't necessary. So I do need to bring something creative to do that's minimal that I could do laying down or just sitting up when I want to. So those are some things that I really it was like a miss for me. Now,
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
let's get into some wins, right? Because that's really more exciting. So here are some of the hits. First, my friends and family. They were a huge support, and just interacting with them and getting texts and chatting with them was amazing, especially some of the women that I knew before that have had surgery and at Dr. Goetz's facility. And with Dr. Goetz helped. But also, I met some new people online, and they become, like fast best friends. And they really helped get me through just some of these, like, the surgery is no joke. So I'm not minimizing it. It's not fun. It's not an adventure. Like, for a few days after, you just felt like, wow, I don't know if I could do this again, because it's rough. Like, the trauma on your body is real, and it's kind of a hard thing to describe unless you do it. And I'm not saying people shouldn't do it. Just be prepared that doesn't have to be hard. My recovery is way easier than I thought it would be, and that's another hit. But having some support from people just to kind of know your stages of first, you know, you are in such uncomfortableness. I was uncomfortable in my compression, but that was a hit that I got measured by Mrs. Rudolph, because those are way more comfortable than my Jobst compression that I went in with. So even though they're expensive, that was a hit, but I was still very uncomfortable. And then how much swelling, my legs were really bruised. I was looking at the incisions. Is that how they're supposed to be healing? So, all of those things that are totally new to me, people that have gone through it before, it really helped me out. So those are all great. And really for me that I stayed a long time, like not everyone could do that, but that I stayed, let's see, my surgery was on the 16th. I got discharged around the 22nd. And then I stayed in Potsdam from the 23rd of January and until February 2nd. That's long time. And I had MLD every day, Monday through Friday. And then, so the Friday I got there, then Monday through Friday, and then the Monday before I left. So they don't do MLDs on the weekends. And that was huge. Also, bringing my inflatable wedge and this little mini compressor. That was like my life, and a little vibration ball and my other tools for MLD, and have an amazing MLD therapist that I could send photos to and ask her what she recommends that I do for myself MLD. Those things were like amazing. So that is some of the really big hits. In addition to, one of the biggest hits is that how I feel after the surgery, being able to walk and being in pain, but a different pain, not that heavy lipedema, like I just can't. I feel really uncomfortable. If you have lipedema, you know the pain I'm talking about. So that has totally changed for me, and my energy has like risen. I was really worried with my ME and chronic fatigue syndrome that I was going to slide backwards with the anesthesia and all the trauma in my body and all the travel, but it's changed my system. So we'll see what surgery number 2 does for me. But right now, I have so much more energy than I did before I left. So I had like maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being optimal energy. I was living in a 3 or less with the chronic fatigue. And by the time I left, I had some dips. So maybe I was a 2. So now that I come back, I'm like a 5. That jump of those 2 points for me psychologically and just being able to walk and have energy to do exercise to help my rehab is huge. So for me, it's not hype about when people say it's life-changing. It has been because it's just been so much relief that I've been living with for decades, and that, like, always in the background pain that I've lived with for decades that came screaming into the foreground has been subsided. So that is really amazing. And then now I want to talk about like the things that I couldn't live without on this trip. I alluded to them because they were so exciting. But an inflatable lip wedge and a mini compressor, a long, extra long cord. I think mine was like, I don't know, between 6 and 10 feet for my outlet, and having a universal international outlet so I can plug into all my hotels if they didn't have something near me. And I was able to plug this outlet that has ports for my watch, my Apple Watch, for my phone, and also had plugins for to charge my vibration ball. So it has all these multi ports, and the adapter fits all these different countries internationally. So those 3, well, probably 5 things were definitely what I needed to get through the trip to make sure I had communication with people, and then also I had what I need for my recovery. And compression. So I had extra compression from my custom compression that I got here from through my insurance. So I had Jope's compression, and I didn't love them. I had to get refitted for the first ones, and then when they resent me the second pair, they went back to the old script, so they were just a little short. So they weren't the best, but it was better than nothing. And then getting brand new compression from Mrs. Rudolph really helped because I don't know how she does it, but the compression that I'm in 23/7. Obviously, I switch back to my other ones and watch these, etc. But the majority of the time I've been in these Browerfeld, I think that's how they're spelled. They don't distribute to the US yet. I think just Canada and Europe. But my MLD therapist now has contacted them and has a relationship with them about maybe doing some distribution here. So they're so comfortable. And for me, it was worth the money, but not everyone can afford it. And it's a stretch for me to afford. But since I'm spending all this money anyway, you know, the $732 is 30 euros was worth it. And making sure that I drank water every day. I'm sure the hotel thought I was crazy. I would buy like 4 liters of water from them if they didn't have, or longer. I think whatever their bigger water bottle is, not the smaller one, the biggest one they had. And then the hotel I stayed to is right next door to a grocery store. So I'd go in and just buy because it was icy and, I was recovering. So I'd only buy like 6 bottles at a time that I could carry. But I'm sure they're thinking, like, what is this lady doing with all this water? And when I'd go out to eat, again, I'd buy the biggest water bottle, sometimes 2. So having enough hydration was also key. And what I am looking forward to. So there might be a wave of some negative emotions or body image stuff right away. I know a lot of women that has happened. For me, it hasn't happened yet, but maybe it's coming later. And I'm open to that. Like maybe this next surgery, when it's the backside, all my legs are done. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to even being in less pain My hips and my glutes were like the start of my lipedema. If I look at the progression, I always had like a booty, and then I had some hips, and then thighs, and then calves, and then my arms. So those kind of how it grew and bulked up on me. So I'm really looking forward to see what I'm going to feel like not having the oldest part of the lipedema with me anymore. It has shifted my energy, like I said. So I am going to do some work with my nervous system just to see if, where I'm really at with feeling smaller. Because right now, sometimes I look in the side view and a lot of the bulk of the front of my thigh is gone and my calves are smaller, and they've only done the front. They haven't even done the backs. So some days I'm like, oh gosh, I think it's going to come back. I'm still a little worried that it's going to come back. And then so I'm going to be working on regulating my nervous system and my thoughts and expanding my capacity that, it is safe to be smaller and it could stick, it could stay there, right? Because change, needs to be safe for us. We need to feel safe. That's part of the stress response we've had. We collectively mean anyone that has an invisible illness. People don't really understand. So you get guarded. You don't always feel safe in your body because your body is actually doing all these things because it doesn't feel safe, literally. And I've had episodes about that, like that part of it. So I'm really trying to kind of go into prepping myself. So if I could get a little bit more capacity before this happens, and then see how I need to deal with the emotional, psychological, and physical parts as my surgeries progress.
Now it's time for the Connective thread, where the story meets the science.
So let's put a little science under why this can feel like such a big deal. After surgery, your body is still doing the behind the scenes work. Tissue's healing. You have to bring all that tissue back. There's all those fat layers, sub and deep, that then the tissue, your skin, all that stuff in between needs to kind of sync up together. And that's why good compression, flat knit, class 2 compression is best for that healing. Inflammation regulation, fluid shifts, nervous system recalibration, hormonal shifts. So it's normal if recovery feels physical and emotional because the body doesn't separate those, mental and spiritual. So all of it. So really, this is a huge trauma on your body, and it's potentially all for the good. That's why we're paying all this money, right? But there's bumps along the way. You might get different issues here and there. You might have to get different transfusions, or you might get different pockets of swelling that you need to take care of. You may get a wound care. There's so many things that can happen and do happen. And that's really just part of it. But that doesn't mean that the surgery itself is a loser and you're like wasted your money. It's just kind of part of the healing process. Things sometimes you have to do. So here's the key. When physical load changes, there's less heaviness, less pain, and easier movement. It can create a ripple effect because in many chronic illness bodies, energy just isn't about sleep. It's about how much your system is spending on everything you do all day. Pain signals, inflammation signals, sensory overwhelm, again, not feeling safe, not feeling heard, extra stress, and then just sheer effort of daily tasks. So if walking becomes easier, your body may spend less energy just trying to exist. And sometimes that's when you notice, oh, I have more energy, not because you became a different person, but because your body has a little more room. And when you've lived through medical dismissal or years of try harder, your system may also be waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's not weakness, that's conditioning, and that's protection. So it's part of the healing is physical, and part of the healing is teaching your nervous system that change is allowed.
Mythbuster. Less hype, more help.
Hey, want a cookie? Oh, I know you just ate, so you're craving something a little sweet. Besides, one cookie isn't gonna kill you. How about half? Just a bite? Bite it. Bite it. Bite it.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. Your affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on a path to successful weight loss by quieting food noise.
Bite it.
Shh. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
So usually I go over lots of myths, but today I just want to do the one. If you feel better, it won't last. The truth is, we really don't know. And stay what's true today, right? So don't go into the future. That's a really hard one. Is like, because we're so used to, I know I was used to, oh, I'm feeling better. And then one day, and then the next day, I can't get out of bed. And then this happened over the years. And then with my last bout of ME, it's like, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to feel better. And I do. So staying with, I feel better. And then, tomorrow I'll see what comes, but really living in that moment and allowing that maybe you can just feel better. That's why I've done all these things and taken all these programs to learn about hypermobility and movement to minimize my symptoms. So I've been doing all this work so I can feel better and make it last. And so allowing yourself to stay in that energy is really something that you just kind of need some discipline with. I know I do, is just like, no, I feel good right now. I'm going to stay in this. And then I'm going to see if my energy changes. I have lots of tools now that I've learned I can pull from my toolbox. And I do feel better. I'm not making it up. Just not like I was making up all of my symptoms before when I was feeling bad. I'm actually not making this up either. I do feel better, and it's something to rejoice. So that's really the thing. If you're feeling better, even when you feel like better for 5 minutes, rejoice in that, because that's also true. The pain and the sickness is true that, we've been told it's not. And also when we feel better, it's like, oh, okay, I can feel better. Maybe it won't be like that in a few moments, but right now it is. And let my body align with that. And that brings me into the feel good flow for today, which is a part of that capacity practice. Feel good flow time, micro moves, macro reliefs. Let's breathe together. So the intention around this mirror practice today, and it's a mirror capacity practice, is not love your body on command, because that's BS. Like, you can't love something you don't love, right? You could say you love yourself, but if you really don't, your ego and your subconscious and the rest of there's like, you'd be like, that's bullshit. No. So if anything under the surface feels like, hey man, that is totally not true, we can't lie to ourselves. We can start to do practices so it becomes the truth, but you can't just go from hating something to loving something. That's not real, and that's not actually going to get you what you want. Also, when you're changing, we need, and I say we collectively, meaning me, just can't increase my tolerance and think like, oh, I'm not going to be afraid. Any change in our environment, there is some skepticism in our body scans for threats, right? And those threats usually have fear with them, conscious, real, unconscious, whatever. If we fear something, it doesn't matter if it's not right in front of us. If that's how we feel, that's how we feel. You can't just be like, oh, no, I'm not afraid, when you're terrified inside. You have to deal with these emotions. And if you're shrinking your body size and you've wanted to be thin, like I have, or you wanted to be smaller, or you wanted to walk better or whatever, and you are, there's a moment of like, oh my gosh, again, we've talked about it this whole podcast. Is this real? How can I keep it? I don't want to let it go, but then I can't trust that it's going to be around. So this is the exercise for us. There's different parts of it. So the first one is just to set it up. So you can stand or sit near a mirror, whatever you feel is comfortable, and just let your feet be grounded. If you can put your feet flat on the ground, that's great. If you can't, do the best you can. feel grounded either through your hips and your tailbone or into your legs some way. And then if you feel comfortable, place one hand on your chest or belly or just connect with your heart center and whisper to yourself, I am safe enough to look for a moment. Because sometimes I know I don't always want to look at the mirror and do these things. They feel silly, but just whisper to yourself again, I am safe enough to look for a moment. Then the first part, you're going to look, name, and soften. It's about 30 to 60 seconds. So look at one neutral area first in your body, either your shoulders, your collarbone, face, forehead, hair, anywhere that feels safe. And then say out loud if you can, or in your mind's eye, this is my body today. This is my body today. She is healing. There is nothing wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. And feel free to add anything else you need to say to yourself and just make it neutral. So if you've hated things and you've been really in a negative place, going to love, I wouldn't suggest. Go, I don't dislike that part today. It's not as bad as I thought it was today. Or, oh. So anything you're really critical of, just start with the truth. Like, okay, maybe it's you don't love it or you're not into it, but start saying things so it's increments. Again, you can't go from not liking something to loving something internally. There's like a billion emotions in between that, right? Or if you felt a lot of shame around your body or shame about stuff, it can go to love. Like you have to go through all these different steps. I do have a sheet about these, and I forget the man that created this whole color-coded system about it. And if I find it before the episode, I'll link it. If not, I'll link it somewhere so you guys can find it. The next part, round 2. You want to lead up and do little titrates to this new experience, right? And take about 20 to 40 seconds. Let your eyes gently now land on the area that's changing. So if you could be in front of a mirror where you're sitting and look like at your legs, great, or your arms. If you can look into a mirror but you can't see your legs and arms, that's fine. Kind of look in the mirror and just imagine that body. Don't evaluate, just observe like a scientist with a warm heart. And just say to yourself, different doesn't mean dangerous. Different doesn't mean I'm unsafe. Because even though you've been living in this body that is giving you lots of grief about not, being in pain, not enough energy, et cetera, it's still what you know. So because it's known, it's safe. So known equals safe in our minds. Unknown equals not safe because we're not sure, right? Even if we want it, because it's unknown, we haven't lived that reality, there's a sense of usually it's unsafe. So unknown is always unsafe. That's why these things don't always sync up how they should. Now, if motions arise, look away, feel your feet, exhale a little longer than you inhale, and then do it again. And then if you can't hold it anymore, fine. Just kind of work your way up to, about 40 seconds or so when you can. And then even if that wasn't super successful in the beginning, you're like, I just can't do it. I can't even hold it for 10 seconds. No problem. When you're kind of done and need to move to the next part, this is the third part of receive. Look again and briefly say, I'm allowed to take up less space and still be me. I'm allowed to take up less space and still be me. My nervous system can learn this. My nervous system can learn this. And then close with however you'd like to, hands on heart, prayer position, just wherever it feels good to touch your body and say, thank you, body. We're doing this one breath at a time. And then the option is to do this for less time if you don't have this much time, 2 or 3 minutes. You can do it for 60 seconds daily. So tiny doses build trust. But you can do this several times a day. You can do it your own abridged version. And just get used to those things. Looking at yourself, looking in your eyes, looking at your body, being present with your body and allowing the emotions that can come up and telling yourself that it is safe to be in this space now, in this body now, because we got to unlearn a lot of things, right? Just because it's gone. Sometimes with people, it is like a little easier, but a lot of times it's not. And as the surgeries progress or as you heal, or maybe you're looking at your body and being like, oh, it's not what I wanted. I'm never going to get it. Like, this is part of a really simple process you could do to help change your perspective of you.
This is shared education and lived experience, not medical advice, and is not meant to be. Check in with your body, check in with your clinician, and find out what fits your life.
All right, love, this is your reminder that healing isn't a straight line. It's a spiral, staircase, and compression gear, right? Actually, flatten it, compression. I'm going to say that over and over because flatten it is where it is at if you have lipedema or you have surgery. The other compression is great and it feels better, but in my experimentation and I'm like, even the uncomfortable days of flatten it, that is where it's at. So if you're in the messy middle of anything, pre-op, post-op, or just trying to make peace with a body that's been misunderstood, you're not alone here and you're not behind. No matter where you are in your journey, it's right where you need to be. There's no catching up. There's no running ahead. Take a breath. Be here. And if this episode has helped, share it with someone who needs a little truth and a deep exhale. And come find me on Instagram at the Donna Piper, or if you want to follow my lipedema surgery journey at lipedema_Donna. Tell me your biggest win, your biggest miss this week, and I'll be right there cheering for you for tiny and big miracles. So until next time, dear body, I'm listening. You've been listening to Dear Body, I'm Listening. Now it's time to remember to be gentle with your capacity, meet yourself where you are, and if this has helped, send it to a friend who also needs a soft reminder and a gentle place to land.
If this episode made you feel even more seen, brought you clarity, or reminded you that you're not alone, please take a moment to rate, review, and send it to someone who needs that same reminder. You can find more tools, blog posts, and support over at donnapiper.com. And hey, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Got a question for me? Every month I do a listener coaching episode, and I'd love to hear from you. Send your questions, stories, or flare-up confessions to donna@donnapiper.com. And you just might hear your answer on the show. Until next time, dear body, I'm listening, and I am so glad that you are here.